I'm 65. I avoid people now. Here's why. At 65, life has a way of offering clarity like never before. The noise of obligations, the endless to-do lists, and the need to meet others' expectations start to fade, leaving space for a deeper truth. This is your time. It's a time to honor yourself, your peace, and your priorities. For me, this realization came when I chose to step back, not out of bitterness or anger, but as an act of self-care. I realized that avoiding certain people wasn't about shutting them out, but about protecting the most valuable gift I have left, my energy and time. This isn't a story of giving up on people or withdrawing from life. It's about living authentically, choosing connections that bring joy, and finding beauty in simplicity. It's about understanding that peace comes when you let go of what no longer serves you. If this resonates with you, you're in the right place. In this video, I'll share how these choices have transformed my life, and how they might transform yours too. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Us channel, where we explore the insights and truths that make life after 65 a richer, more fulfilling journey. Let's begin. 1. Avoiding people to protect your peace. At 65, I've come to a profound realization. Avoiding certain people isn't an act of resentment or bitterness. It's an act of self-preservation. It's about reclaiming the space, time, and energy that are so precious at this stage of life. For years, I believed that being a good friend, neighbor, or family member meant always being available. I showed up for everyone, no matter how tired or drained I felt. I said yes to every request, answered every call, and stretched myself thin trying to meet others' expectations. But over time, I began to see the cost of this constant availability, not just in terms of my time, but in the toll it took on my emotional well-being. Avoiding people isn't about cutting everyone out or isolating yourself. It's about setting boundaries, making choices that honor your peace, and being selective about where you invest your energy. For much of my life, I gave too much to relationships that were one-sided. I believed that loyalty meant staying, even when the connection no longer served me. But as I grew older, I began to understand that not everyone deserves access to my time and heart. I remember one particular moment that shifted my perspective. A friend I'd known for decades began to call only when she needed something. It wasn't about checking in or sharing life. It was about convenience. At first I excused it, thinking, she's just busy. But then I realized this pattern wasn't new. It had been happening for years, and I'd simply ignored it. That day, I made a decision. I wouldn't continue giving energy to relationships that didn't feel mutual. Saying no felt uncomfortable at first, but over time it became liberating. When I began to step back, I noticed something surprising: emotional clarity. Without the weight of trying to maintain draining relationships, I felt lighter, more focused, and more at peace. I had more time to invest in the connections that truly mattered, the friends and family who uplifted me, listened without judgment, and valued me for who I am, not what I could do for them. My circle grew smaller, but it also became richer and more meaningful. Avoiding certain people has also allowed me to rediscover the joy of being alone. I used to equate being alone with loneliness, but now I see it differently. Time spent alone is time spent recharging, reflecting, and reconnecting with myself. It's not about shutting people out. It's about creating space for what truly matters. This shift has been especially important when it comes to new relationships. At this stage in life, I've learned to trust my instincts more. If a connection feels draining, or if someone's intentions seem unclear, I don't force it. Instead, I focus on cultivating relationships that bring light, joy, and authenticity into my life. By avoiding people who drain me or don't align with my values, I've found a freedom I didn't know was possible. I no longer feel the pressure to be everything to everyone, and I've discovered the power of saying no without guilt. Protecting my peace isn't selfish, it's necessary. Life is too short to spend on connections that don't nourish your soul. At 65, I choose to spend my time with people who bring me joy, who respect my boundaries, and who make me feel truly seen and valued. And for that, I'm endlessly grateful. 2. The gift of solitude. Solitude is often misunderstood, especially in a world that equates being alone with loneliness. But at 65, I've discovered that solitude isn't an absence, it's a presence. It's the presence of peace, reflection, and the freedom to simply exist without the expectations of others. Far from something to fear, solitude has become a gift that enriches my life and deepens my connection with myself. Loneliness and solitude are not the same. Loneliness is an ache, a longing for connection that feels out of reach. Solitude, on the other hand, is a choice. It's a deliberate step into quietness, away from the noise of the world, to find clarity and renewal. In solitude, I am not yearning for something external. I am reconnecting with what lies within. This distinction became clear to me when I first began spending more time alone. I'd sit quietly on my porch with a cup of tea, watching the sunrise. At first, I noticed the silence, a space that had once been filled with conversations, obligations, or the background hum of life. But soon, I began to feel something else, a sense of calm and contentment that I hadn't experienced in years. That quiet time wasn't empty, it was full of possibility. In solitude, I found a space for reflection. The hustle of younger years left little room to think deeply about my life, its joys, its struggles, and the lessons hidden in both. Solitude offers the chance to pause and look inward. It's where I've come to terms with past mistakes, celebrated quiet triumphs, and made peace with the person I've become. This reflection isn't about dwelling on regrets, but about finding gratitude for the journey and the growth it has brought. Creativity also thrives in solitude. Without distractions, my thoughts have room to wander, and my imagination comes alive. I've rediscovered old hobbies, like writing and gardening, and found new ways to express myself. Whether I'm jotting down memories, tending to flowers, or simply appreciating the rhythm of nature, these moments are deeply fulfilling. Solitude nurtures creativity because it gives me the freedom to explore without judgment or interruption. But perhaps the greatest gift of solitude is the joy it brings. The simple act of sitting quietly, listening to the rustling leaves or watching the sunset, fills me with a profound sense of contentment. These moments remind me that happiness doesn't always come from grand gestures or crowded gatherings. It often resides in the stillness of the present. Solitude has also taught me to value my relationships even more. By spending time alone, I've learned to appreciate the connections that truly matter. When I do engage with loved ones, I'm more present, more grateful, and more attuned to the joy of simply being together. For anyone hesitant to embrace solitude, I would say this: don't be afraid of the quiet. In solitude, you'll find not loneliness, but a wellspring of peace and clarity. It's a chance to hear your own thoughts, rediscover your passions, and find joy in the beauty of your own company. Solitude is not an escape, it's a homecoming. 3. Evolving relationships. The beauty of letting go. As we age, our relationships evolve in ways we might never have imagined. At 65, I've come to understand that not all connections are meant to last a lifetime, and that's perfectly natural. Relationships, like people, grow and change. Some deepen and flourish, while others fade into the background. This isn't a sign of failure. It's simply life moving forward. When I was younger, I believed every relationship needed constant effort to survive. I was the one remembering birthdays, making the calls, and extending the invitations. But over time, I began to notice something. While some relationships felt nourishing and reciprocal, others left me feeling drained. This realization was difficult to accept at first. I worried that letting go of certain connections would make me seem cold or ungrateful. But as the years passed, I learned an important truth. Holding on to every relationship out of obligation is not a kindness to anyone, least of all yourself. Letting go of relationships that no longer serve you requires courage. It means accepting that people change, paths diverge, and some connections simply run their course. This doesn't diminish the value these relationships once held. In fact, I've found immense comfort in reflecting on the joy and lessons past connections brought into my life. Friends who made me laugh until my sides ached, mentors who guided me during uncertain times, and even relationships that ended in disappointment. All of them shaped the person I am today. Gratitude is the key to navigating these changes. Instead of focusing on what's lost, I choose to honor the memories and lessons these relationships gave me. A dear friend from my early career, though no longer a part of my daily life, taught me the importance of dreaming big. A family member I've grown distant from reminded me of the value of setting boundaries. These connections were vital for a time, and while they may not fit into my present, they remain an integral part of my story. Letting go also creates space. Space for relationships that feel aligned with who you are today. Over the years, my social circle has grown smaller, but what remains is richer and more authentic. The friends and family I now hold close are those who understand me, respect my boundaries, and share a genuine connection. There's no pretense or obligation, just mutual care and support. These are the relationships I treasure. Occasionally, I feel a pang of nostalgia for the friends I've lost touch with, or the family members whose lives have taken different directions. But instead of regret, I feel gratitude. I cherish the good times we shared and the lessons they left behind. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means accepting that not all relationships are meant to last forever. The beauty of evolving relationships lies in their impermanence. By embracing this truth, we free ourselves from guilt and open our lives to deeper, more meaningful connections. Letting go isn't an end. It's a new beginning, one filled with gratitude, peace, and the courage to embrace the present. 4. The value of time, a treasure worth protecting. At 65, one of life's clearest truths becomes undeniable. Time is the most precious treasure we possess. Unlike money, possessions, or even health, time is irreplaceable. Once it's spent, it's gone forever. And yet, for much of my life, I treated it as if it were infinite, wasting hours on meaningless tasks, shallow relationships, or obligations I didn't truly care about. Now, I see time for what it truly is, the foundation of a meaningful life, a gift worth protecting fiercely. Time doesn't just pass, it shapes us. Every choice we make with our time reflects our values. Yet when we're younger, it's easy to feel like there's always more time ahead. We say yes to things we don't want to do out of guilt or obligation. We stay in relationships that don't serve us because we're afraid of change. We fill our schedules to the brim, forgetting to ask ourselves, is this how I want to spend my life? At 65, those questions can no longer be ignored. Time feels more finite, but also more valuable, and that shift is profoundly freeing. One of the greatest lessons I've learned is the importance of prioritizing meaningful experiences and people. Every moment I spend now is a conscious choice. I no longer waste time on surface-level relationships or activities that don't align with my values. Instead, I focus on what brings me joy, purpose, and connection. A deep conversation with a close friend over tea means far more than attending a large gathering where I feel unseen. Watching the sunset, tending to my garden, or reading a good book. These simple moments have become some of the most fulfilling parts of my life. Protecting my time has also meant learning to say no. This wasn't easy at first. I've always been someone who wanted to please others, to be the dependable friend or family member. But saying yes to everything often left me stretched thin, with little energy for the things that truly mattered. Now, I ask myself 3 questions before committing to something. Does this bring me joy? Does it align with my values? Is it worth my time? If the answer is no, I let it go without guilt. Because every moment I spend on something unimportant is a moment taken from something, or someone, that is. This isn't about being selfish, it's about being intentional. Life after 65 has shown me that time is too valuable to be wasted on trivial matters. It's not about how much time we have left, it's about what we choose to do with it. Do we fill it with purpose and peace, or do we let it slip away on things that don't truly matter? These choices define the quality of our lives. Prioritizing time also means focusing on relationships that uplift and nourish us. I've let go of connections that feel one-sided or draining. Instead, I invest in people who value my time as much as I value theirs. Friends who listen, family members who show up with love and understanding, and even new acquaintances who bring light and positivity into my life. These are the relationships that make the time I spend feel worthwhile. At the same time, I've learned to embrace quiet moments and solitude. Time spent alone isn't empty. It's rich with opportunity for reflection and growth. It's in these moments that I've found clarity about what truly matters to me, my health, my passions, my relationships, and the legacy I want to leave behind. 5. Trusting wisely. Setting boundaries with grace. At 65, I've come to understand that trust is not something to give away lightly. It's a treasure to be shared with care. In my younger years, I trusted easily, believing that the best way to connect with others was through openness and vulnerability. But time has taught me that trust, while beautiful, is also fragile. Misplaced trust can leave scars, and rebuilding it is never easy. Now, I approach trust more thoughtfully, not out of fear, but out of respect for myself. Being selective with trust doesn't mean closing yourself off from the world. It means observing, listening, and giving people the opportunity to show their true intentions over time. Trust, I've learned, is earned through consistency, kindness, and mutual respect. By being mindful about who I let into my inner circle, I've created a space where I feel safe and valued. Boundaries play a crucial role in this process. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about teaching them how to respect you. Boundaries protect your peace, your time, and your emotional well-being. For much of my life, I avoided setting them, worried that doing so would make me seem selfish or uncaring. But as I've grown older, I've realized that boundaries aren't barriers. They're bridges to healthier, more respectful relationships. When you set boundaries, you teach others how to treat you, and you reinforce your own self-worth. For example, I no longer feel obligated to answer every call or attend every gathering, especially when it comes from relationships that feel one-sided. Saying no doesn't make me unkind, it makes me honest. And in honesty, there's a profound sense of freedom. What I've found is that boundaries don't weaken relationships, they strengthen them. By expressing what I need and listening to what others need, I've built deeper, more authentic connections. The people who truly care about me respect my boundaries, and I respect theirs. This mutual understanding has created relationships that feel lighter, freer, and more fulfilling. Trusting wisely and setting boundaries are acts of self-respect. They remind us that our time and energy are precious, and they allow us to focus on the connections that truly matter. At 65, I've learned that protecting my peace isn't selfish, it's essential. And when trust is placed wisely and boundaries are set with grace, the relationships that remain are all the more meaningful. 6. Seeking simplicity in a complex world. The world today moves faster than ever. Technology keeps us connected 24/7. News updates flood our screens, and endless to-do lists keep us busy. At 65, I often find myself looking back on simpler times, not out of nostalgia, but because I've realized that life's deepest joys often come from its simplest moments. In a world that feels increasingly complex, I've learned that seeking simplicity isn't about resisting change. It's about choosing to focus on what truly matters. Growing up, life seemed slower, more intentional. Neighbours were friends, not just people who lived next door. Family dinners were a time for connection, not distractions. Now, everything feels rushed, fragmented. Conversations are often interrupted by notifications, and relationships can feel shallow, stretched thin by the demands of modern life. While I appreciate the conveniences of technology, I've also seen how it can overshadow the genuine human connection it was meant to enhance. For me, simplicity has become a conscious choice. It's about stepping back from the noise and creating space for what brings peace and fulfillment. I've stopped trying to keep up with every trend or chase every obligation. Instead, I ask myself, does this add value to my life? Does it align with what I truly care about? If the answer is no, I let it go. One way I've embraced simplicity is by prioritizing quality over quantity in relationships, activities, and even possessions. I've learned that a deep conversation with a close friend is far more rewarding than a crowded party. A walk in the park, feeling the breeze and watching the leaves dance, brings more joy than any screen could. Simplicity isn't about having less, it's about appreciating more. To those yearning for simplicity, here's my advice. Start small. Declutter not just your home, but your schedule and your mind. Say no to obligations that don't serve you. Spend time with people who uplift you and let go of those who drain your energy. Carve out moments of stillness, whether it's enjoying your morning coffee without distractions or taking a quiet walk to reflect. Simplicity is a gift you give yourself. It's not about rejecting the modern world, but about navigating it with intention. By focusing on what truly matters, you create a life that feels richer, calmer, and more authentic. In a world that never stops, simplicity reminds us to pause, and in those pauses, we often find life's greatest treasures. 7. A shared experience, finding comfort in community. As I've navigated life at 65, one of the most comforting realizations is that I am not alone in these feelings. Many of us, as we reach this stage of life, begin to prioritize quality over quantity in every aspect of living, especially relationships. This isn't just my story, it's a shared experience, a collective shift in perspective that comes with age and wisdom. In conversations with friends, neighbors, and even acquaintances, I've noticed a recurring theme. People around my age are beginning to let go of the superficial and embrace the meaningful. They're stepping back from relationships that feel like obligations and focusing on connections that bring joy and authenticity. It's not about cutting people out of our lives. It's about being intentional about who we let in. One friend recently told me, "I used to think being busy meant being important, but now I just want to spend my time with people who make me feel alive." Her words struck a chord because they mirrored my own feelings. Many of us grew up believing that having a wide circle of friends or being constantly involved made life richer. But as we grow older, we realize it's the depth of our connections, not their breadth, that truly matters. This shift isn't always easy. There can be moments of guilt when we choose to step back or say no, and moments of nostalgia for the relationships that have faded. But it's reassuring to know that this change is part of a broader journey, one that many of us are on together. There's comfort in the shared understanding that prioritizing ourselves doesn't make us selfish. It makes us wise. Community, even in its smallest forms, becomes more precious as we age. Whether it's a close-knit group of friends, family members who truly understand us, or even a neighbor we can rely on, these connections feel richer and more meaningful. It's no longer about how many people we have in our lives, but about the quality of those relationships. By embracing this universality, we find strength in knowing that others share the same realizations. Together, we learn to let go of the noise, focus on what brings us peace, and create lives that are simpler, more fulfilling, and unapologetically authentic. In prioritizing what matters, we discover that we are never truly alone. We're part of a community that values the same truths. 8. Embracing a new chapter, a celebration of authenticity. At 65, life feels like a new chapter waiting to be written, a chapter no longer dictated by societal expectations or the opinions of others, but by the truth of who I am. This stage of life offers a profound freedom, one I couldn't fully appreciate in my younger years. It's the freedom to live authentically, to let go of what no longer serves me, and to embrace the simplicity, gratitude, and self-reflection that make life truly meaningful. For much of my life, I felt the weight of societal pressures. I believed I had to meet certain milestones, maintain certain appearances, and be everything to everyone. I tried to balance roles as a parent, partner, friend, and professional, often at the expense of my own needs. But now, those expectations no longer hold sway. I've learned that the world's definition of success doesn't define me. What matters is how I feel when I wake up each day and the sense of peace I carry in my heart. Living authentically means honoring who you are without apology. It's about recognizing your values, your desires, and your limitations, and living in alignment with them. This authenticity is not about rebellion, it's about liberation. It's letting go of the fear of judgment and embracing the courage to live life on your terms. It's realizing that you don't need to explain or justify your choices to anyone. Simplicity has been a key part of this journey. I no longer chase after things that add clutter, whether it's material possessions, unnecessary obligations, or toxic relationships. Instead, I focus on what truly matters: meaningful connections, quiet moments, and the beauty of everyday life. A simple walk in nature, a heartfelt conversation with a dear friend, or a moment of stillness in the morning has more value than any fleeting achievement ever could. Gratitude has also transformed the way I see the world. I find joy in what I have, rather than longing for what I don't. Each day, I reflect on the things I'm thankful for, the people I love, the lessons I've learned, and the time I still have to enjoy them. This gratitude grounds me and reminds me that even the simplest moments can be profoundly fulfilling. Self-reflection is another gift of this new chapter. I've taken the time to look back on my life, not with regret, but with understanding. Every success, every failure, every heartbreak has led me to where I am today. By reflecting on these experiences, I've gained clarity about who I am and what truly matters. This chapter is not about endings, it's about beginnings. It's about celebrating the person I've become and the life I've built. It's about letting go of the rush to achieve and instead savoring the richness of each moment. At 65, I've found that living authentically isn't just freeing, it's deeply joyful. It's a reminder that the best chapters in life are the ones we write for ourselves, filled with simplicity, gratitude, and the courage to be exactly who we are. Your journey, your rules. As we close this chapter together, I hope you found inspiration in the truths we've explored today. Life at 65 is not about limitations, it's about freedom. It's about protecting your peace, finding joy in solitude, prioritizing meaningful connections, and embracing the beauty of living authentically. This stage of life offers a unique opportunity to reflect on who you are, what truly matters, and how you want to spend your precious time. Remember, this is your journey, and only you can decide the rules. Let go of societal expectations and the weight of unnecessary obligations. Choose simplicity over chaos, gratitude over regret, and authenticity over pretense. In doing so, you'll discover a life filled with clarity, peace, and joy. If this message resonates with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Us channel, where we explore the wisdom and freedom that come with age. Together, we can continue to inspire one another to live boldly, authentically, and unapologetically. Thank you for being here. Until next time, remember, your time, your peace, your life, make it your own.